Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a Rocky Mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Saturday, January 25th, Sunday, January 26th for those of you across the pond and beyond. Welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm so glad you guys can join us this evening. Sorry for the delay. I don't know what the hell's going on over here, but we got it worked out. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and I hope you had an awesome week and a rocking beginning to your weekend. Over here in Southwest Colorado, we have Snowdown going on this weekend, and it's a party for all those people that have cabin fever that just need to get out and get in costume and have a lot of fun. So hopefully everybody's out there in Durango, Colorado, enjoying their night tonight for Snowdown. Have a little fun for us. But thank you so much for joining us tonight on one of our many outlets. You can also find us on Spreaker, Periscope, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, as well as Podcast Addict. So tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight we will be talking to and getting to know Sleepy Dave Davenport, Robert White, Kevin McDougal, Mia Savage, and Nikki Jacobs for the Paradox Paranormal Forum. Welcome, you guys. So sorry for the late happening, but I'm so glad you guys could hang out with me tonight.
Oh, you're welcome.
Awesome.
All right.
We have liftoff.
Thank you.
I was like, holy cow.
Happy Australia Day for the 26th in Australia.
Happy Australia Day, everyone in Australia.
Happy Australia Day.
So what is
Happy
Australia Day? Is that like Independence Day?
That's when, kind of, that's when they say that Captain Cook discovered Australia.
And then had some Captain Morgans.
Probably.
Yeah. Sorry.
So yeah, it's kind of the Independence Day of Australia, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, happy Australia Day to you.
So what did Captain Cook just keep sailing until he found someplace, or what?
We've hit land, ladies. Shit, we're thirsty. Let's celebrate.
Well, it's funny because in school here, we learned that Australia was created by Britain, the UK, whatever, sending their felons and such over to Australia as a prison.
That's what they said. They said they sent all the prisoners to Australia. I'm like, oh, that's nice. They're like, so everybody's an offspring of criminals. That's what they told us. I'm like, oh, that's a nice thing to say about a country, you frickin'.
Let's throw another shrimp on the barbie.
Yeah, right. It's more gasoline on the fire, you know. I've known so many Australian women and people. God, I would love to go on a walkabout. Crocodile Dundee. And you know what? In all seriousness, I think that's the only really exposure Americans really have ever had to Australia on a serious note is that little movie. And it's kind of sad. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, that and Kangaroo Jack.
What decade?
I love Kangaroo Jack.
That gives the impression that it's only about an hour or two drive from Sydney to the middle of the outback.
Right?
That's no way at all what it is. It's about an 18-hour drive if you're going to drive, and probably a 4-hour flight to the middle of Australia if you go from Sydney.
Jeez.
But the kangaroos will beat you up, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's some pump ones.
And the dingoes will eat your babies as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was the dingo that ate your baby.
More than that.
Well, I saw this
Dingo,
picture.
it was a baby.
Right? And it was so sweet. This lady hugging the kangaroo, and they're like, oh, look how, this kangaroo needs some sort of nurturing or something from this person due to the fire. But I don't know if it was a staged photo or whatnot from earlier on. But I was just like waiting for like the video replay of what happened. She's hugging the kangaroo, and then all of a sudden he knocks her back with his hind legs.
Yeah, I'm always waiting for the kangaroo to kick somebody's ass. So, if you ever see some of those males that are all pumped up and strong, and they look, boxing joeys are definitely a thing, and I know Robert can tell you which species it is that has the really, really big, strong males, but some of them are just ridiculous.
Huge.
Yeah, well, there's the red kangaroo. There's an eastern grey kangaroo, which is a really big bugger. They'll just muscle up. They stand about 6 foot, the eastern greys. I actually saw one on the way back from doing a carrying position up at a fishing camp in the far north. And if he jumped out in front of our car, we would have had a huge mess.
So which one is Kangaroo
Wow.
Jack? Is he a red kangaroo?
Yeah, he's a red.
He's so cute. Well, the movie depicted him as such.
That's why I was laughing.
No, I'm laughing at something else. I'm laughing at something completely different. I just rickrolled somebody. That's all.
Would you
And
like
now
to
I
share
heard
with
that
class?
Rockies
different.
are more friendly.
Well, no, there's a girl at work, and she's so cute. She's nice, and she keeps saying to me, "I have a fiance, so don't ever think that you can, go out with me." Because I tease her. I'm like, "Yeah, if you didn't have a fiance, I'd ask you out." So she's like, she's pressing the issue. I'm like, I know, I know the boundaries. Chill out. So I sent her the video, "Together Forever" by Rick Astley. She goes, "Me and him are going to stay together forever." I'm like, "Okay, well, good."
Forever.
You can't say anything to the young crowd about marriage other than it's a misguided government program, and I don't have anything against it personally. I don't have any good examples of it personally in my life except for my grandparents, and from the people who have gotten married, they wish they never had. So I just took advice. and you know what? On the outset, the girls that have pressed me in the past to get married, they've all ended up leaving. So it's like, well, it's a good thing I didn't marry you. Well, I left because they didn't marry me. I'm like, no, it's because I'm not going to get into it, but it was just funny. So, women can be paranormal. How's that?
They
So
certainly
can
can.
men.
Oh, of course, but I don't date men, so
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was
That
a
was a
lovely
good
intro.
reply.
But then
To
the
our-
room went very quiet there.
guys, I didn't
Well,
play any nice play.
Interesting topic to bring up, by the way.
Aliens and dating, yes.
Oh, that's a top.
No wonder women claim to have, relations with ghosts. They can't handle reality, It's just like, you guy's pirate boyfriend, you got a divorce. Did you hear about that story a while back?
Oh,
No,
man.
what was it?
Nuts.
Fill us in.
Oh, some woman said she was going to marry a ghost from, supposedly this ghost from the 1800s.
Yeah,
Some
something.
ridiculous thing. And
1700s or something, yeah.
yeah, and then, months later, not very long later, she's like, I'm divorcing him. And it made news. It actually made
Yeah, he cheated on her.
That wasn't his peg leg. No, that's good.
She couldn't get his
Well,
booty.
he can go. He can go wherever he wants. Of course, he cheated on her.
Right. He's a free-floating apparition.
Oh, that's the chick that married like the pirates or whatever.
Yes.
Oh, the
Good
ghost
pirate
of Pirate Roberts. She's like, sex was nice, but it was just like nothing was really happening.
Well, of course, you're just laying there by yourself. Imagining things happening.
We couldn't get
Yeah.
pregnant.
Yeah, I did post that when I first. We had
Oh my
ghost babies.
God, Mia.
We had ghost babies, and it was the best and easiest birth ever.
I'm holding them. You just can't see it.
Why
He
is
was
your
a
tit
great
hanging
listener,
out?
but a lazy shift about.
Talk about the Emperor's new clothes.
Oh my gosh.
They're like, why is your breast hanging out? And she's like, I'm breastfeeding.
He was naked.
The triplets.
Ruh-roh. Now we got issues.
I'm sorry. What kind? We got first issues, second issues, back issues.
I got back issues with the page stuck together. But how about we go through each one of us and tell them a little bit about ourselves, and we'll start with, I'll start with myself instead of throwing somebody else under the bus. I'm TessaTNT.
Awesome.
Tessa Nicole Thomas Peterson, and I founded Four Corners Paranormal in 2012, and then I started We Are Paradox Media. Oh man, was it June? May, June? I believe it was in June. May I quit my old job. June I started my new one. But yeah, we've been on the air trying to get information out there for you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But I love being here, sharing information with you guys and sharing my experiences and bringing my friends in to share their experiences too. Next, we have our weekday host, Sleepy Dave Davenport.
Hello, how are you? Oh, well, what do you want to know? I don't know. I'm just a blue-collar worker, and I've been doing internet radio on and off since 2005, 2006. And I just shoot the stuff, chew the fat. There you go. I'm going to keep it clean. Chew the fat on my show. The other day, last night, if you want to go listen on the replay, interviewed a longtime friend of mine who is served 4 years in the United States Air Force and who's since retired. He had dealings with UFO discs on Shemya Air Force Base in Alaska and encounters with, well, they weren't gray aliens. They were the gray type of aliens, but this type was translucent, pale skin type, big heads, blue eyes. One of them had brown eyes. So that's the kind of story I've been working on for a decade now, coming up. So, other than that, I'm a single dad. Nothing much else, you know. I've experienced lots of paranormal weird things in my day. So, Mia, I guess I'll pass the ball to you.
Yay!
I am a person. I don't know. I am a person. I think so, or an alien. I'm not sure. I speak to ghosts. I have certain types of psychic abilities that sometimes are interchangeable. I have like my primaries and then my other ones. So I am a spiritual messenger and person who has also encountered quite a few otherworldly, extraterrestrial type experiences. Not a full-blown abduction or anything like that, but so I actually had a moment. This was kind of funny story. So about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I was walking with my friend. We were just going for a walk, and we were downtown, like Old Town Scottsdale. And of course, I had like this Long Island medium moment where this lady that was standing outside, of course, one of her dead relatives came and talked to me. We went inside. I gave her a whole reading. She cried. She's like, "Why don't you do this for money?" And I'm like, "I don't know, because it doesn't always happen." And they have to want to talk to me. And I also close off a lot of times because I don't want to be that open all the time. It was very fun. It's very rewarding.
It really is. And the first time we met was actually, I believe, on one of our free full moon ghost hunts that we offered to people. We haven't done it in a while, but I think we should start doing it again. And we talked online, wanted to meet up, so we met up doing that, and we actually picked up on a lot of the same things. And I've just kind of been addicted to your personality ever since. Like, you're such an awesome person and a bright light out there in a world of darkness. So I really appreciate you being my friend and my team member and being on the show with us tonight, no matter how short-lived it may be. Because snow down, everyone. It's snow down in Durango, and that's when everybody who has cabin fever goes out and drinks a few too many, dresses up in crazy costumes. This year it's rock and roll, right? We generally do the parade, but we decided not to do it this year. But yeah, I love my team and I love Mia. But we'll move on to our next mate online, which would be Miss Nikki Jacobs. Sorry, I almost called you Robert. I don't know why I want to call you that. Did you almost get married to a guy named Roberts?
No, not even close.
Several times tonight when I've been trying to type your name, I keep wanting to type Roberts, and I go and refer back to it, and I'm like, no, it's Jacobs. Why do I keep wanting to put Roberts? Maybe it's Robert Wright.
She'd make a good dread pirate, Roberts.
Right?
Well, let's see. What about me? Let's see. I'm a psychic, a medium, clairvoyant with all 8 clairs and then some that I am learning and finding out. Learning and growing in my abilities, gifts, whatever you want to call that. I've been an advocate, retired. Did that for about 19 years. Worked with women and children and attorneys and things I don't want to do anymore. But funny enough, I'm doing them in the paranormal field. So that has made life very interesting. Talking to spirits and helping them in different ways. Unexpectedly working on missing persons cases. Talking to Sasquatch, that one kind of blew my mind a bit. What else? Yeah, that one, I gotta say, just completely boggled my mind. I was like, no.
Yeah, last night
That's bull.
Last night Chris said that they could talk, but they really don't like to talk to humans unless they have to.
Or unless they like them, right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
I don't know about it unless they like them, but they're an offshoot of an alien species, he said.
I don't know. I think they're more of an offshoot of us.
Well,
but we could be an alien species as well.
That's Baritone told him. So he was just going by what Baritone told him. When Baritone was explaining the 19 different alien species on the planet right now.
Well, that's interesting. I haven't
listened to it.
Real confirmed ideas on that yet.
Well, I don't.
Kind of leaving wide variety of reasons.
He's military, so I don't know why anybody would, doubt what he saw. That's the whole thing. Everybody wants these stories and these reports, and when one guy comes forward, they're like, I don't know about that shit. And no offense to you, but it's like, what the fuck? Excuse my language. I don't
get that way.
I know, but guys like Travis Walton will make the circuit for 25 years, but Chris, he'll get shut out and shit on by other people.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
I think it's possible. I mean, it's possible. I feel like they might. My theory was always they might be on a dimensional level that's very close to ours, and that when we are in certain open chakra spaces, that sometimes people can see them, like the fairy realm or another realm. I think that's a possibility too. I have that was just a theory, maybe.
And I'll say, as Go-Go Teresa said in the past, Shocker Khan. But we also have Kevin McDougal on. Kevin, before we get into lengthy conversation, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yes, hello, my name's Kevin McDougal. I'm by Moonlit. I am a psychotic and a heavily sedated person.
Okay.
I have been an investigator for about 25 years or so. I investigate all types of things, not just the paranormal. I've had my own run-ins with alien sightings as far as spaceships and UFOs such as that. I've had my own ghost sightings, and I've been trying to go back to find out more and more about my sightings earlier. I don't know so much about sightings, but run-ins with creatures, just find out more if they were alien or spiritual. I've known Tessa for about 3 years now, I guess it is, huh, Tess? We've
yeah, it feels
kind of
like
pushed
longer, but kidding.
Yeah, I'll say. We both kind of push each other to out of our comfort zones at times to learn more about ourselves and challenge each other.
That's very good for us, I think.
I think so too. It gets a little weird at times, but it helps us. And other people look at us like a little strange, I think, but that's what we kind of do to help each other grow and keep us from getting stagnant. I like to do basic psychological breakdowns of people and of situations. I investigate things very much like a police investigation or a FBI type thing as a real investigation, not a TV investigation. And I like to do psychological breakdowns of what's going on with the people involved and follow it from that aspect. I enjoy doing this type of stuff. I'm retired from a communications corporation, and I have quite a history in computers and photography and all that good stuff, and I try to bring that to the group that I'm dealing with. And I like to have fun. That's a lot of my part. Is I like to have fun with people doing this, so we can enjoy ourselves as we do stuff, and not just be so totally serious about every step of the way. But I want to get good results. Let's have fun.
Like, we'd have fun, but a lot of people take it wrong. A lot of people feel like they're being attacked or something like that, and that's not what we meant at all, right? We meant something to make someone laugh, but they're taking it seriously, and it just causes the ship to sink.
Yeah, I just like to be playful, so we have some fun doing this stuff, and a lot of people take things way too intensely, and takes the joy out of stuff when people are out here doing this as a hobby and do it in their spare time most of the time, and they work long hours doing this kind of stuff. We should put a smile on their face when we do it. And I think that's the way to keep it and make you to be able to do these long hours and not get burnt out. And as if you get a joke here and there and a smile on your face. If not, you just get burnt out on it. You start making mistakes and everything else.
Yeah.
But that's my philosophy. But anyways.
Well, I'm picking up what you're putting down, and I get your sense of humor. I have a fucked up sense of humor, and a lot of times it's in the gutter. But generally, when you say something, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but somebody will take it totally different, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't sound like Mooney at all. But yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down, and I do appreciate you and your personality, and I'm glad you decided to join us tonight. I'm so eternally grateful to you.
Thank you for the invite.
No worries. And you guys might not know, but Mooney may not be wearing pants right now.
You just have a cock ring on. I'm sorry.
He's like, do I have to wear pants? I'm like, no, not at all.
Can I sit in my Superman underoos?
Both of my hands are above the desk right now, but
well,
Jeez.
I know, Mia, you have to go after the first hour, and we only have about minutes left of the first hour. What would you like to talk about as far as anything under the paranormal umbrella?
We've got Robert, too.
Well, okay, so there's this guy, and I just wanted to know if any of you have heard of him. His name is Genesis P. O'Ridge. Has anybody heard about him or his name?
No.
He was an art guy, and basically his story is that, he did all of these crazy experiments. He was from London, grew up England, somewhere in England. I'm not sure exactly where. He was born in 1950 on my birthday, February 22nd, and he just had he was a modern day philosopher that actually ended up starting a cult later in life. And he actually got surgeries to look exactly like his wife, right? Ew. Because he wanted to become one person. He had all these very fascinating theories. He's just very, very interesting to me. And I'm just finding more and more out about him. and like his spiritual beliefs. And it started off as like an art exhibit type thing. He went to Paris, did all these crazy, like shocking things. But some of his spirituality beliefs are very, very fascinating, though, that us as people, we're not male or female, that we are just human, right? And that was part of his dying experiment, to look exactly like his wife before she died. So continuing to this day, I mean, he still looks just like her. I don't know. This is just what I've been tripping on for the last few days. So I just wanted to know if anybody else had heard of him.
No, but that, in my opinion, that sounds purely demonic to me.
Hey, well, okay,
His
beliefs were considered by others as demonic. I just find him fascinating. Just understand. I think there's a fine line, and whether or not it was demonic or this or that, it's not always black and white. I feel like he was just a very fascinating person to look, just like Aleister Crowley. It's, people like that are just very interesting to look up, like the psychology of them.
So what were his beliefs exactly, as far as like spiritual or religious or whatnot?
Well, he basically started a cult, and he was into the occult, Aleister Crowley, that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. Some of his earlier things were when he was like in college, they all lived in this fruit warehouse, and everything, the kitchen was, the bathroom was, everything else, everything was combined. And every day they would just pick like a random outfit out of a box, just whatever would be their outfit for the day. And they made up their own language. I mean, it was crazy. Like, so there was like no gender, no names. There was no like individuality. And so they became like kind of like Zen, supposedly. Some went crazy, but some were like Zen because they were no longer identifiable by, like their persona. Everything was taken away. Their style was taken away. Their names were taken away, and they all just worked together in like this community.
Yeah, but how can stripping away individuality be a good thing? This is why we're all against psychos like that. No offense. Oh my God, it's like the one worlder tout. It's like
it was a temporary thing. This was not part of the cult. This was more of like a science experiment that he was doing to see how people would survive and how their mental state would be throughout. This was not like an end-all be-all. I know. I don't know. I'm just finding this character very fascinating.
Yeah,
I don't know as much as I would like.
She believes in it, but she finds it interesting and intriguing.
I'm not talking about her personally. I'm just saying that guy, whatever he believed, is wacko, in my opinion. That's all. I mean, if she likes it or wants to go, by all means, go right ahead. That's what we're all here for, to look and observe and research.
Yes, it's just fascinating. I don't know. I really don't know that much about him to say that what my views are on him as a person. I just find his life story very fascinating, and I wanted to know if anybody else had heard of him and what his deal is. Wasn't there a UFO sighting though that you posted recently? Somebody posted on Facebook recently, like a UFO, like by a mountain.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay, what was that about?
I think that was filmed in Nevada not too long ago.
Nevada. I was wondering if it was in Arizona or not.
I knew there was. Is it the one that looks like it could have plane lights and it's blinking? And then all of a sudden
this thing's much bigger than a plane light. This thing's like huge.
Okay, so it's above, not hovering right
very
above
bright.
houses.
Yeah, it's above and it's flying, and you can actually see the city lights, and he actually follows it flying, and he can name the towers it's flying over to because the guy knows the area. It's on my Facebook, but that was a few days ago.
Yeah, I saw that. I just wanted to know what the details were on that because I had no idea
that
what it was.
That was off another. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It starts over with the video off to the right, and kind of it's like they're surrounded by mountains, is what it looked like in the video. And off to the right, it's just in front of this mountain, but flying really low, and big bright white light. The video that I remember had the red, but it was red and white light. It looked like a plane, but just really huge. And then the guy starts following it where it's going. He tries to zoom in, if I remember right, and then zooms back out because that's when he starts naming buildings and different areas of his city. Yeah, that's the one I thought you were talking about. So and he follows it. He pans with the object in the sky and follows it all the way off to the left, and it ends up in front of above some really big buildings or
well, it flew over the Luxor.
Tower. That's
pyramid.
what it was. Thank you. That's what it was.
It was
and
lost.
then
It was the wrong pyramid.
No kidding.
Not the Luxor.
No.
That's not going to give you the energy you need. You need to go to Egypt for that.
When I
What
first
the
saw
3020?
Just
When I
look for
first
the
saw-
pyramid. Okay.
When I first saw this video, the psychic hits that I got off of it they were abducting. They were flying low enough to where they were abducting people. I don't know if that's factual, but that's what the psychic hits that I got off of it. And I
They're
go
always
with
abducting somebody.
Oh no!
Well, the one
kidding.
I saw was from UFOs over Las Vegas. And I've seen several different videos, same video, but one starts off with it going up like the little valley ravine where the canyons come together and then coming back to where the houses are, and it flies around. And it's like trying to intermingle with what we recognize as an aircraft. So it's got the blinking red and green or blinking red and blue or whatever lights. It looks red and green. Could be blue. Flying around, and then all of a sudden it's over certain houses, and you see these little light orbs leaving, and they leave small, and they go into a house, and then they come out larger and go back into the small craft, which doesn't appear that large. It might be a 10 by whatever craft or something by what I'm seeing. Could be smaller, but goes out small, comes back small, or comes back big, and then goes back big, comes back small. So on and so forth. So are they going down and abducting people right in front of this guy's eyes? And he's trying different cameras.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say was that I had 3 orbs in my home, and I knew that they were aliens. Happened literally right in front of my eyes, right where I'm sitting now. I was on a Skype call with a couple of different people, and I went, what the hell was that? And it instantly knew that it was alien in nature, and I was livid, absolutely livid, went into hypertension mode. But there were 3 of them, and they were little buggers, and they were searching for me. And that's not what I instantly got. What I instantly got was that 1, it's alien, 2, protect yourself, and 3, you better start doing some very high-powered energy work and get them out of here. Well, it happened so quickly, I didn't even have time to get to the high energy. But yeah, so when you're talking orbs going into a home, I've seen firsthand and knew instantly that they were alien. I've seen orbs before,
Yeah,
but have never experienced the sensation of it directly being an alien. Freaked me out, pissed me off all at once.
I've
Heard
seen.
of this.
Yeah, I've seen ghost orbs, which I was sitting there watching my daughter, and she was practicing her high jump, and I'm proud of her because I got first place in high jump when I was in high school, and I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And you can jump farther than me because she was a lot smaller than I was too. But I saw this orb fly by. Generally, you see orbs in pictures, not with your naked eye. But I saw this white orb fly by the base of the high jump pads and past me and continuing on. And I'm like, holy shnikes, did you see that? And she's like, no, I didn't see it. I was like running and jumping. And it freaked me out because that was the first time I had seen a spiritual orb, not in pictures. But then in 2012, I actually saw an alien orb. And you can tell the difference. Like, this had a definite, like, defined outline as if it was in a globe.
Yep.
Ghost orbs have a fuzzier outline.
Very much so. There's a major difference between the two. And the alien orbs, they're a lot more solid. I mean, so much more solid. It's almost like you can't see through them. And they can
That's
be
what I've heard.
different colored lights, different colored orbs. I don't know what else to call them other than an orb, because they don't. That's what they are, is an orb. But yet at the same time, it doesn't feel right to call them an orb, because spirit, you have spirit orbs, and just like what Tessa was talking about, they're fuzzy or hazy around the edges and really soft. It's like a soft white or a soft blue or some form of a pastel, typically. Not always, but typically. And so it's just, these are a lot more defined. I'd sure be interested. On one hand, I'm going to say this. On another hand, I'm like, I can't believe you're saying this. I would be interested in knowing how in the hell they get that tiny. Because they are not that tiny in real life, baby. I'm here to tell you.
Right?
No kidding. So, yeah, you're exactly right. There's very much a defined line between the two.
It could have been that you were just seeing them in a different dimension. Like because the experiences that I've had with ETs, like face to face, I was in almost a half dream state. And so I feel like maybe that's what they look like when you're fully conscious and they're coming to visit, So maybe you were just seeing like they're them on a different dimension, but here, what it looks like.
Possibility.
And which one are you talking about, Mia?
Which what?
You said what you're talking about in a different dimension, so on and so forth. Are you talking about the spiritual orb or the alien?
The alien, the spiritual orb, Because when I have seen them full-fledged, like in detail in their true form, it's like when I was partially astraling out of my body, but I was still awake. It was almost like in a sleep paralysis type state, but even more awake than that. But I was still I was halfway out of my body. So therefore I was halfway into a different dimension wherever I was traveling, right? The next dimension closest to ours. So I feel like maybe the way that she saw them is how you would be able to see them if you're fully conscious and awake in this realm,
Yeah. Yeah, the way I saw this one, it just looked like a fuzzy ball flying, and you see the little kind of tracer off of it. And I don't know if it's that the energy coming off the back or whatnot as it's flying by, and it flew by so quickly. It was probably, it wasn't like 60 or 70. It was probably like 20 to 15 miles per hour that this thing flew by, but it still had this little tracer off of it. And I couldn't believe I saw it with my naked eye. I was like, okay, this is a whole nother step into understanding the paranormal. But yeah, the alien orb, it looked like it was in a glass ball with liquid fire going in a clockwise fashion. You see the red, the orange, the yellow. It's just rolling around inside of this. Looked like a glass ball. Could be some sort of shield. I don't know.
It's definitely fascinating.
Yes, for sure.
And I want to go back to what Mia was saying. This art guy. What is his name again? I want to write it down on my Palm Pilot, which is my hand.
He's known as kind of like an occultist, cult leader, musician, kind of like a Andy Warhol art icon as well. His name is Genesis P-Orridge. That's spelled O-R-R-I-D-G-E. This very fascinating character. I don't know what to think of him. I don't know if he's evil. I think a lot of what he did was just scientific, him being more of a philosopher than like a Satan worshiper, though he did delve into a lot of the occult stuff. I feel like I don't know. It's very interesting. I'm wondering what others possibly think of him.
I think it's important in order to learn as much as you can in life is to investigate as much as you can. And if that's looking into these different realms, that's understandable as a curious human being to find out what's what's going on over there? Is the grass really greener? Or learning what their high points and low points are, and learning everything about everything around you that you can. So to look into that, I've heard different things about, and I'm not promoting, but I've heard different things about satanic worship. A lot of it isn't really worshiping Satan, but indulging in all the fancies of life as far as sex, drugs, alcohol, rock and roll, whatever else, just enjoying the whole human experience. But I think it's important to have boundaries and have to step back from that. But it's important to learn everything about everything. So instead of learning what you're told, you can learn what you learn and decipher what's right or wrong for you.
Well, agreed, 100%.
When I hear something like this, I think of the psychology of why somebody would do that sort of thing. And that's what fascinates me about things like that. But
exactly, Nikki. That's what I'm saying. I'm just wondering, what? Yes, I totally get it. Well, I think for him, it was a lot of psychedelics. Mainly was his deal. He's one of those guys, right? It's like I am one with my wife. We are two parts of the same soul, and we should be just one human combined. Like the kind of we're like the whole twin flame type aspect is how he felt about his wife. He's like, I will become her, and then she died. Which is very, very, very fascinating, because what if they became one? What if she went into his body, or she's around, or I don't know. It's just very, very strange. Very, very fascinating.
Oh, now that's a whole different topic right there.
Yeah, that's the part about this guy that freaked me out. You mentioned all these other things, but the part about him trying to look exactly like her and stuff, it's like he had an issue with his own self-image. And I understand the wanting to be one with somebody, but there's different ways to do that, and that's not plastic surgery and such to look like someone. But I kind of understand his thought process. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's just a very fascinating study case as a human being. He's just one of those, you can't figure him out. Is he completely psychotic and evil? Or is he kind of like a modern day kind of philosopher? Because he did have a lot of points, And I think a lot of cult leaders are like that. Sometimes that's how they become leaders, is they do have some strong points that make you think, but they can also be very evil. And he didn't cause people he wasn't that type of a cult leader, He wasn't taking things away from people to rule them. He just basically made records in his room, and people would come and watch them play music and take psychedelics. I mean, that's the type of, he wasn't actually like a cult leader, in the sense, but he was like one, he was a cult icon, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think those are good research, good to have in the back pocket type of information, if that makes sense.
Yes, I have it here on my Palm Pilot, so I can look it up later. But I need to write it down on my calendar, because this will wash off. My Palm Pilot is my hand.
Oh, wow.
I was wondering about that.
I think I have one of those.
I have two. And I can write on both, but the left Palm Pilot is a lot nicer writing than the right Palm Pilot.
Yeah, that sounds
for sure.
Yeah, when I was homeschooling my kid back in the day, I used to have notes all the way up to my elbow because I didn't have paper around at the time, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Then I finally just got one of those little really mini spiral notebooks and just, took a safety pin and just went, screw it. It's just going to have to be attached to my shirt.
Yeah, I end up losing those. And I actually found one recently. I'm like, wow, I remember that. You find all these little tiny notebooks everywhere when you're cleaning.
All the time. That's so mean.
That's why I love Pilot. And I write it on something that's in front of my face occasionally. And I'll look over, oh yeah, I need to look this up, or oh yeah, I need to do this, because I have so much going on in my life. It's hard to keep on track of certain things I want to do.
Exactly.
Yes.
So Mia, I was curious, What are you gonna do for Snowdown tonight?
I'm in Arizona.
What?
I know. I'm in Arizona and I am here. I don't know. I'm here for some reason.
And welcome back to Coast to Coast.
Ooh,
Who
Coast
is
to
that?
Coast. Someone's listening
Yeah.
to Coast to Coast.
I would love to go.
I
Big
was-
competition there.
Oh,
Yeah, there you
goodness.
go.
Shout out. Woot woot.
Oh, goodness, interesting missing cases to talk about because missing people. I like to listen to David Pilates.
Missing
That's-
411.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to him, but he's hard to get a hold of.
I tried. He will not contact me. And I have
What?
certain thoughts as to why. But it's
What did you
interesting.
do? No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't do anything, but certain laws about certain things that happen in their broadcasting realm, and they cause other people to unfriend or unfollow or not associate. So yeah, there is that.
I don't know. I heard that he wasn't doing any more small podcasts like a long, long time ago. Than when he ended up doing these small podcasts again, I was like, really? Wow.
Yeah, that's why I like it. So maybe I should just reach out again and see what's going on with that.
Yeah, definitely do it again.
Oh, Sleepy, look, Sugar Baby Bear's back in the chat room.
Yeah.
I think she's hooked on your honey.
No, she's got a fiance. And it ain't me.
It ain't me, babe. It ain't me.
It ain't me. No, it ain't me.
So I've got a
I
question
love that
for
song.
you.
What?
If you've dealt with missing people and you have officers who are in authority, obviously, officers, who refuse to listen to you, what have you done, or in what way would you go about presenting the information? Hot button topic, I know.
Well, nobody's going to tell you fully come forward for fear. We already know that.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying I'd like to hear more. I mean, because, too bad whoever does it, floods YouTube with the same freaking interviews for the last 6 years on the topic, and it's hard to find anything so-called new. And I haven't bothered to buy any of the books like I should have, but, it's hard for me, a guy like me. So
Well, and I don't mean
you can't go out. You got to change names or basically, or I don't know, like give me a scenario, just like some cases that they refused to give him. I mean, I couldn't name off the top of my head right now, like who the names are, but.
So I'm going to tell you something. I have victims of crime coming to me, dead people coming to me who want their body found, who want their case solved, and the only way it can be solved is via authorities. But authorities mostly refuse to listen to psychics or psychic mediums.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? I want to hear from everyone on this one. Please.
I've heard of someone reaching out to a family member. That's a hard job, by the way. I applaud you. That's why I close myself off to that type of stuff when I am right now. I'm too busy to handle that right now without having a total meltdown. That was me. I'm sorry. But I feel like there are officers, if you look up ones that do authority people that do work with psychics, even if they're in a different state, I feel like maybe if you could contact them, they might be the other authorities because they have the ends. If there are cases where they do reach out to psychics, and the ones that do are the ones that you need to find the information for and contact them. even if it's in a different state.
Good idea.
Because I've seen that before. There are a few complete believers that are, FBI agents or detectives. I've read articles about them before in the past that it was like a last chance, and they've had success with that in the past. So maybe look up successful cases solved by psychics and see who the detectives involved were. I think they get a lot of calls as well. I do think that they do get a lot of calls from psychics who, may or may not be right about these things.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're getting victims coming to you, and it gets heart-wrenching. And being an advocate as to the kind of things that I used to do, this is a whole different topic. But yet, it's not. It's exactly the same, because you're still advocating for someone. They just happen to be dead. So yeah, I found out some information last night that I had a delayed reaction to, and I kind of hit the roof when I found out the information. And so, I'm asking questions and seeing what people think about certain things like this topic, because it's so frustrating, especially, when either the victim just simply wants their body to be found, or when a family member just wants to know what happens to their loved one.
Yeah, so they can go to death in peace and not be worrying about this.
And so that they can move on. And so that the family can have closure. That is a huge deal, to have closure.
But how do you know that the body has still not been found?
On this one case, I cannot answer that.
Well, you guys...
have you looked it up?
But what I can say is, in one specific case, well, two actually, the victim told me. But when you're not taken seriously, and they won't even bother going and looking, it gets very frustrating. And it's like, well...
are you saying that there's a body in the grave, but there's no body in the grave, but they buried something casket?
No, body...
Are you saying that they buried an empty casket? That's what I'm saying.
No.
Okay, so if it's known that there's no body that's been buried, then that's how you would know that there's nobody's buried a body.
No, this is missing person type stuff. This
is
not
that bury people in the ground, no caskets.
Yeah. I feel like in regards to the family, which I have done this before, what I've done for years hasn't had to do with necessarily missing people, but on the astral level, I've done a lot of sex trafficking in other countries. Mm-hmm. I've done a lot of work doing that on the astral, but there's been a few cases where I wasn't able to give the person some type of closure in real life, in this realm. And something you can do for the families, if you can't reach out to them on this level, what you can do is just tell yourself that you're going to visit them on the astral and you're going to answer all of their questions. And I've seen people just wake up one day and they were at peace because they got subconsciously the answers to their questions, and it fills them with that whatever was missing.
Interesting.
So that's something that you can do from afar if you are not finding luck actually taking action in this dimension. I've seen it happen. I've worked with people on the astral. I do it all the time when I'm dealing with somebody, and it's not usually like a missing persons type case. It'll be something else, someone's sick or domestic violence or whatever it is. And I've talked to them after the fact. My friend was going through a domestic violence thing, and I was traveling to her, and I was having all of these very vivid astral lucid dreams where I was trying to coax her into getting away from this guy. I'm like, you're smarter than this. You're not that type of person. You're not the type of person to deal with physical abuse from someone. And she got away from him, which for most people is really hard to do when you're involved, especially if you just signed a lease somewhere with this person, and you have everything going with them except for the fact that they're physically assaulting you, So there's just things that you can do on the astral to fill them with security, I guess.
Yeah, because
but we do have to go to our first musical break, and I just have to say, if anybody does get into a lease with somebody, go talk to your landlord and tell them what's going on. And if they are a reasonable person, they'll let you out of the lease. But otherwise, keep hope up. We do have to go to our first musical break, and we have a new artist on board. It's Gravity. And on this break, we're listening to My Last Goodbye, Take a Walk in My Shoes, Throw You Away, and then Michaelan Hay with Pins and Needles. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
walk down the street, thinking all the things you said you need. Why don't you tell me, baby, how do you feel? As I walk down the street, thinking all the things you said you need. Why don't you tell me, baby, how do you feel? Don't you take a walk? Why don't you take a walk? In my shoes, why don't you take a walk? Before you tell me what to do, why don't you take a walk? Why don't you take a walk? In my shoes, why don't you take a walk? Before you tell me what to do. No, it's easy, you tell me what to do. Have you ever stopped to think all the things that I've been through? No, it's easy, you tell me what to do. Have you ever stopped to think all the things that I've been through? Don't you take a walk? Don't you take a walk? In my shoes, don't you, baby, take a walk? Before you tell me what to do, don't you take a walk? Don't you take a walk? In my shoes, don't you, baby, take a walk? Before you tell me what to do. pins and needles, every word through a microscope. You keep stomping down on the ground while I've been stuck on this tightrope. I just wanna say what I wanna say without your sentence. I'm not willing to do the time when I'm innocent, and I'm innocent. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Walked on my share of thin ice with your blowtorch at my feet. You won't ever see me beg, so take this tongue off your leash. I'm gonna say what I wanna say, don't need permission. Interpret it how you want, it's my decision. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Dancing on shattered glass, kicking the pieces all around. My safety has been broken, this is now a hunting ground. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, talking about, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, talking about, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, talking about, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up, I'm gonna hang it up.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. So tonight we are on the Paradox Paranormal panel or forum, and we have Nikki Jacobs, Robert White, Kevin McDougal, and Sleepy Dave Davenport. Welcome back, guys.
All right.
Hi.
Thank you.
I know Robert's been so quiet. Now I want to pick on him.
Well, I never got an intro before either.
You didn't
You
get
were
an
saying,
intro?
"Oh, introduce everyone." No, you just went on with everyone else.
Now it's your turn. We were one person more than I'm used to. So, Robert, can you tell us more about yourself? Where you come from, and what got you into the field of the paranormal?
Well, I'm Robert White, obviously, the token Australian. I'm a psychic large. I'm way past medium. I've been a healer since about 2005. Well, 1994, I first found out that I could heal people, but I haven't really been using it until about 2015. And I've been doing it more and more over the last few years. So I've been doing that. I've been doing work on the crystals that I work on, make jewelry out of them. What else? Been doing other radio shows, but you don't want to hear about that. What else? Dang it. Oh, well, that'll live with me now anyway. But yeah, just been on different things. Different people have joined up with me to do healing. There's one guy over in the Netherlands. His name is Aad, A-A-D. I joined up with him a few months back and did a mass healing with different people. So that turned out pretty damn good. And he even said that he could feel my power over there. Yep, that's me done.
And you work with stones as well. Like, what have you learned working with them? Do you feel different energies off of different stones, or?
Yeah, there's different energies from different stones. They have their own vibrations. When I'm working on them, I can put intent into them for different people. If I'm working on specific stones for different people, I can focus energy into them for those people if I know what they're needing from the stone. Like I've got a piece of amethyst here that I've been working on for somebody that they needed protection and healing from, so I've put that sort of energy into it. And I've yet to put a veil around it so I can hook up to a necklace. That's the next thing I'm going to be doing when I get back into the club on the 28th, because it's been closed for the last month. So I can get back in and do some more work.
How are the fires going over there? Are they relenting at all, or are they still taking over?
Well, we have been getting rain, which is good, but the fires are still prevalent because just 2 days ago there was a air bomber that went down, and the 3 people on board that died. So that was in the Snowy Mountains.
Yeah, I believe those were Americans.
They were, yeah. Yeah. They'd come over to help fight the fires and ended up dying in them.
Yeah, and they were saying on the news that, and it's so true, I've seen it time and time again, fire is basically its own entity, but it also makes its own weather, and that's what happened. It created its own weather system, and it basically rocked the plane apart. Yep.
There's been so much fire down here that I'm surprised that there's any growth left to burn, because it's been eating it all up.
Well, that's unfortunate, but I've been sending my energy over there, and I hope other people have been. And, man, you guys need rain, and I hope it's hitting the ground before it evaporates, because I know how that works as well. But love and prayers and light to you guys, and I'm hoping things work out in the end, and it'll subside eventually. Like you said, you can't believe it's still burning, but it just finds anything it can to consume.
Yeah, it does, and has been.
All right, so where should we go from here on our anything under the umbrella of paranormal experience going on? Is there anything paranormal that anyone wanted to speak about that has been happening recently, or things in the news, so on and so forth?
Well, Washington State Department of Transportation posted a couple of days ago that they had images of Sasquatch, of Bigfoot. And wow, did they ever. They got the camera footage. They first had pictures. Pictures were blown up. And you can see an image of something dark, tall, and hairy walking in the snow. And I believe it was either today or yesterday, they posted another one, and this time it's video, and it's same description, only walking across a snowfield, basically. It's quite the quite the images they've captured. I believe both are on Highway 2 up in the mountains. So it's very, very fascinating. I've got a lot of it posted up on my Facebook page, and it's posted publicly, so anybody can go to my Facebook page and see it. Fascinating to me.
Definitely.
Because they know where technology is, and it kind of surprises me that they want to be seen. The first one that DOT posted of just the pictures, if you really look, you can see a face, very, very faint, but you can actually see a face, and it is looking directly at the frickin' camera. I'm like, yeah, something's wrong with that. Because typically they don't want to be seen.
Well, we had one here on one of our weather cameras, one that looks at the highway as well as the area around to see what the weather's doing. And there was a Bigfoot walking across in some blue spruce trees. And a couple people were like, I don't know. And then another person, well, it walks too much like a human to be a Bigfoot. But they're so closely related, I feel, to humans, that why wouldn't they walk like a human, except for their arms and legs are a bit longer.
That's just what I was going to comment on. And drastically furrier.
And what?
Drastically furrier.
Yes, indeed. Unless we're talking about my dad.
Oh, mercy. Yeah, it fascinates me that they actually posted it. I not only fascinates, it stuns me, because typically that kind of stuff is like, oh, it's going to be hidden. So it's got me a little confused is not the right word. Flummoxed, maybe? As to... Perplexed. Much better word, thank you. As to why they would even start this, why both sides would actually, why a state-run operation would publicly post it. So, and why the heck the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, knowing where technology is, sensing where it is, at least that's what I've been told, why in the world they would want to be coming out now.
Maybe they're starving. A lot of things aren't as readily available as before. And I must say that Washington State actually put out a federally funded Washington Atlas that listed under S Sasquatch as one of their creatures in their state. This is federally funded. Like, why would they do that unless it actually existed?
Yeah, exactly.
And they put them on the endangered species list or do not kill list on one of the states.
They did that in one county in Washington State. They have, if you kill it, you go to jail. You go to prison for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They actually have it in multiple rural counties, like all counties in western Pennsylvania. Okay, hold on once. Okay, Washington, Oregon, and Texas, they have different laws to protect Bigfoot from being shot and killed. It's actually a law.
I didn't know about the last state that you mentioned, but I knew about Washington and Oregon.
Texas.
There are certain counties, certain counties, which is interesting to me because in other counties, I believe like Grays Harbor County, which is not the peninsula, it's the one down by Ocean Shores, is the one I'm thinking of, and I think that's Grays Harbor. Sorry if I'm wrong, guys. It's been a while since I've had to think of what county goes where in Washington State. There's quite a predominant Sasquatch group of families, multiple families. They're consider themselves clans. That much I was told by Mama Sasquatch, the one who specifically talked to me, and wow. She's basically the head of the Mount Baker Sasquatch clans, like numerous clans. She is the head of. It is a matriarchal society, and that was made very clear to me. But I find it fascinating that in some other counties where they're also prevalent, they're not protected. And I'm like, why? Because of logging issues? Because people are trying to make money on deforestation? Sorry, pet peeve of mine. But, if they need to be protected, then yeah, they damn well should be protected. Personal opinion.
Like you're saying, why are they coming out in front of the cameras and stuff? They can obviously hear the electronic signal or whatever's going on with it. That's why they steer clear of these things for the most part. Why are they coming out now? Is it because the elk or deer or whatever is not there as much as they're used to, need food? Hopefully somebody will do a gifting site and give them food or something. Maybe they're hoping for something like that. Otherwise, why are they coming out now? I don't think they're looking for disclosure because I don't think they want to really be found.
Exactly, I agree. And it makes me wonder what you just talked about as well, because you've got the, in certain states across the country, there's this issue with deer that have this disease, very severe disease. In them, and they're finding it across the country, all across
it's
the
like
United
a wasting disease or something.
Yeah.
They find whole herds dead around plants and stuff they're eating.
And I find it interesting because I was on a different show not too long ago, and I was told that one of the younger Sasquatch had gone into this man's backyard, grabbed one of the chickens for food. And I'm like, wow, okay. Because that is, I was surprised. I meant to ask him if he had goats because, hello, that would be a bigger feed. That, wow, amazes me. They're stealing.
Thoughts, panel, forum, Sleepy Dave, Mooney, Robert?
Well, there's a couple things I was thinking about. Is that one, these are state cameras. They're usually higher up, much higher up, and they're a much higher quality camera. So they're not going to be like the regular trail cams and such that have those, make those noises and stuff when they go off, and have that higher pitched noise that comes off of them when they're just running, period.
Well, and they shut those off.
Hmm?
Sasquatch are known to shut off they actually shut off trail cams.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's when you were saying something about how come they're being caught on the cameras. These are ones that are way high up, and they don't make the sounds and stuff. They're much higher up and further away. So chances are they're going to be less detectable. And even if they are, they're so far away from them, they're not really going to go for them and go after them to shut them off or even mess with them and think of them as a camera, I don't think.
And sorry.
The other part about some of this is that I don't think it is wintertime and they do have to damage more. So they're going to be around more places. The snow's coming down to cover the tracks. Less people are out in some of these areas at some of these times. So, there's a lot of reasons for them to be getting out and about. And I don't think it's a big thing for them to be all of a sudden expecting to be recognized out there. But
well, they're well-known climbers, and they make climbers of trees anyway. I don't know about poles, but they are well-known tree climbers, quite up high, and they break off large branches, many inches in diameter. They'll break off a branch and use it as a sign for where they're going or what they're doing. So that's why it kind of surprises me, because even if they are up high, these buggers, they'll climb, and they go up really quite significantly. So I don't know about the poles. I wouldn't think they'd climb a pole, but you never know.
I'm not saying that they're out of the range. I'm saying that they're not going to make the noises of a cheaper camera. They're going to be quite a bit. Yeah. They may not make any sounds at all, and they may not even make a hum like the cheaper cameras make. So,
yeah, because that's cheaper quality stuff in comparison to the state-run stuff.
Yeah, so they may not even be detectable to them, really. And so that might be the big difference on all that. They just may not even see it, or if they do see it, they may not really care about it. They may think it's too far away to make a difference to them.
Yeah, it's a deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and it could be like when you have snowy area and it's snowing, you get that kind of muffled nothingness, like it cut out a lot of the noise, and perhaps they don't hear the hum of that little camera going on.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff, they're using telephoto lenses and stuff for some of these. They're seeing them quite a ways away.
Yep.
So I think all that has factor in this, on why they're caught on them. If it is them and stuff like that, or if it's just a fake or whatever, but not a fake as in a fake as in somebody faking in a costume. But
yeah, exactly.
But we have seen this sort of thing in in Yellowstone, when in the wintertime, when a herd of them come through, might be a full family unit, 5 or 6 or 10, or 10 males together or something like that on a hunting trip, and they're coming through through the pass or whatever, and they get caught on a camera that's too far away for them to know it's even there. And so this is more in the lines of them just not detecting it's too far off. And I know that if like on the traffic cameras from downtown, they're up on top of a 15, 20-story building and they're shooting downtown. If Sasquatch was going to walk around the town square, he'd be caught on camera every morning. And he certainly isn't going to pick something up that's on 20 stories up. So I know he could get up there if he wanted to, but he ain't going to hear it up there. So
he ain't going to pull no King Kong.
Yeah.
No kidding. Well, I have another.
Well, if it's in the way of getting his Starbucks, then he's going to go work.
Starbucks is in the lobby.
Well, I've got another story about Sasquatch that kind of fascinates me. When I was down at good grief, Ocean Shores, can't think of the name of the Paracon last year in March. I went for a drive around the town and all the way to the end of that bit of island, so to speak. And there were a lot of deer. And talking to a number of local town folk. and found out that the deer showed up a little bit more than a few years before, and they couldn't figure out why. And now it's to the point to where the deer that are there have bred and bred and bred, and so they've got a large amount of them all the way across the island, and they're problematic. And I was specifically told that, oh yeah, the I can't think of the name of the department, whatever department it was, they're going to be allowing, I don't know if it's happened now, but at some point they were talking about allowing a certain amount of the town to basically kill a number of deer. And I'm like, wow, okay. Well, it occurred to me as I'm leaving that town and that area, was in the process of being contacted by Sasquatch as I was headed home. Another interesting conversation and strangeness. And one of the things that occurred to me was that the Sasquatch were on the move. And I started receiving psychic hits, numerous psychic hits. And the psychic hits were regarding magnetic issues in the ground throughout that area. And that was originally why the Sasquatch were on the move and the deer were on the move. The deer were being pushed into the city, or into the town, rather. And along that whole kind of section of what looks like an island there in Washington. So I don't know if any of you guys have heard of anything, any stories, any bits of information regarding it, anything in the news? Yes, no, maybe.
As far as what exactly about them able to,
about the deer, because that's an unusual story. I mean, a town essentially being overrun by deer.
Yeah, well, it happens a lot. That kind of thing happens a whole lot. And what they'll do normally they're allowed to. Most communities are allowed to hunt deer, and what they'll do is they'll just simply the hunting and game commission will just go ahead and up the amount that they're allowed to kill in a season that the hunters are able to do. They'll just print them more tickets, or they'll just allow them, more at a time or whatever it might be, or extend the days that they're allowed to hunt.
Yeah, and they do that way, not only with like deer and elk and such, but recently done it with bear. They give out more tags and such for hunting. And then recently I've heard, like over in Wyoming or wherever, where they release the wolves, they're producing and reproducing and reproducing, and so they're overrunning the populace. So they're starting to put out hunting tags for them again, even though they were pretty sparse for a while. Now they're not. So they're allowing people to hunt them before they start hunting us.
Yeah, and
well,
so you can see how
surprisingly there's actually a deer population down here that they have been doing the same thing. They've just been repopulating, and they've been they've been getting to be a nuisance to cars driving along one certain stretch of the highway. So I think they've been doing trying to do a cull well with them, or they've been moving one or the other. So yeah, I get what you're talking about.
And to get back with what you were talking about, Nikki, is what they'll do is a lot of times they'll go in and they'll have increase the number that they can hunt in an area, and then they'll go ahead and bring in a different deer population, a number of from another area that are young and fertile, and they'll bring them in to interbreed with that deer population that you have there in that area, so that they can go ahead and refresh the breeding stock. So,
That's incredible.
go ahead.
Well, it's just incredible that there's even that much in this area, because I was specifically told by these two guys, these two construction workers, to be really careful when we were driving in town on specific roads, and because literally every house, every lawn had anywhere from 4 to 8 deer. And I was like, yeah, right. Drove down those streets, drove up and down a number of streets. They were not kidding. I've never seen anything like it. And I've been in small towns before. They didn't go quite as far as the beach. They stayed more inland, but I was just absolutely amazed. Absolutely amazed.
And see, that another reason why that sort of thing would happen is that they're not planting any food for them inland. So they may not be planting fields for them to graze on, fields of corn and fields of other types of oats or whatever it might be for them.
This is all seaside towns. That's why.
Yeah, and if they're not doing that further away inland, then that means they're all going to come around the city and scavenge for garbage and flowers.
Yep.
And
which is exactly what they were doing.
So yeah, they'll just sit there and they'll eat up all the little leaves off the bushes and all the flower petals, and that's just what they're going to live on in trash. And because there's nothing planted for them, and there's no natural area out there, so there's not enough to sustain them anywhere else.
And see, that's what gets that, because this is a small area that it basically bottlenecks. It's where Highway 101 meets Highway 109. And if you know anything about Washington and ocean shores or any of the seaside towns, it's really, truly a bottleneck right there. That is the opening to that whole ocean town. And so that's what I mean is they were being pushed out of the forests. And when I'm going up 109, I was absolutely stunned by what I was picking up on. Because I was like, coming out of Ocean Shores, I was like, well, that was interesting. Turn on some music, didn't think anything of it. And next thing I know, I'm getting messaged by Sasquatch, and I'm getting all sorts of downloads and psychic hits off of everything that was around me. And I'm like, whoa, this is intense.
Yeah, it's really, really weird when you find out that that they'll have open season on maybe a type of bird. Maybe it's a sniper, or grouse, or some sort of bird, and they'll say it's free game, shoot as many as you want, and there's no limits. Man, they know darn well the people aren't going to eat them. They're not even going to take half of them. They're just going to let them float around in the water after they kill them. They're just going to go out there and just fire on them, okay? And
well, see,
but the thing is that the population is just out of control, and it has to be brought down, or they're going to starve to death come winter, and they're going to be all interbred. And if they don't do something soon, it's going to be a severe problem, and the whole species might collapse. So,
that's an interesting thought.
And so that's why conservation efforts, they go ahead and they do stuff like that, and it seems so inhumane. But they actually use the hunters to take care of that manual labor of killing them off.
But see, I don't have an issue with them taking out the deer. I find it, because they really are becoming problematic in that town. I mean, truly problematic. Especially with the amount of, oh man, I had no idea. But I found it more interesting that they were pushed out of the forests. They ended up in this town, this sleepy little town, which I dearly love. I love Ocean Shores. It's wonderful there. And the psychic hits that I got off of being around that area, specifically about the magnetic issues that were in the ground, I'm like, why would the magnetic issues be affecting deer? I can understand it affecting bats, because it'll screw their echolocation. But deer?
Yeah, basically all animals, all mammals out there, and all birds and everything else. So they're all using a type of a magnet in their head, usually in their nose or some part around there in the front part of the brain. They all have like iron deposits one way or the other, and they have an internal magnet. They basically figured that one out after, and that's all been basically in the 20th century. They thought, few of them had it here and there, but they realized that all animals have it.
Birds will drop out of the sky when there's too much, oh, for God's sake, brain fart. Can't think what it's called at this second.
When there's a problem with the
magnetic
radio frequencies. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Robert.
Yeah, when there's a problem with the magnetic compass in an area, with the magnetic lines in an area, like down at Snake.
You're back, okay.
Down where in Ohio, down there where they have the snake mounds, snake mound, birds circle that area. It's like a hill there, and then it has that snake mound that it's
like a mound
back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the birds circle it, just circle and circle and circle all around it. Luckily, they'll go ahead and they'll break their way out of it sooner or later, but they won't just keep doing it till they die. But the magnetics are screwed up there. They just like a spinning compass type thing, and you can tell it just screws up the animals and everything that are right there and everything else. And there's lots of those, not as many that strong and stuff like that, but a good bit of them around the earth, and it just takes the animals, it just screws with them bad.
Yeah, ley lines and such.
Yeah. And so you have these abnormalities, and we're in the process of an abnormality. We're the magnetic north is changed all the way. It's moved away from the North Pole, and it's moved over to moved clear over toward Russia. And it won't be that long till it is in Russia. And, you know.
That's just mind-boggling. I mean, when you think about what's actually taken place on this planet, it's truly incredible.
Yeah, that shift happened in the last few years. It's like something we've watched.
Yeah, when the
it's not like
Fukushima earthquake happened, I believe the poles tilted, I want to say 10 degrees or 10%. Which one's smaller? It was the smaller one. 10 degrees?
It was like a tenth of a percent.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was
tiny. It was tiny, but it was important.
Yeah, it was so
on a large
small.
scale. It was so small, but it's big on a large scale.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay?
I was amazed because it was during the winter here, and the crickets actually woke up, and I was like, why the hell are the crickets going off now? Well, they got confused by the shift, and it was just so strange.
Well, it definitely affected a lot of psychics I know, me included. Rather painful, I might add. When you're that sensitive to the magnetic frequencies in the earth, and I felt that there was a shift also in the 90s, in the mid-90s. And I kept talking about it with different friends, and they're like, oh, that's bull. I'm like, oh, just wait. 10, 12 years from now, they're going to start talking about it. No, it's a little bit longer than that. But it eventually was talked about. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about. It happens. The magnetic pole shifts. The magnetic field on this planet shifts periodically. And when it shifts, for those of us who are really sensitive to it, watch out.
Yeah, and as we know, plates have gone in certain directions. We used to have the whole pan thing going on. Now we have different continents.
Yep. You really got to take care of yourself, too.
Yeah, the only thing that stays the same is change. And I've noticed since the lunar eclipse, which was on the 26th of December, and then astrological alignments right after that, and then the solar flares on the solar winds happened after that, and then another lunar eclipse. So many people have been having artificial heart attacks, anxiety, high stress levels, different things like that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that before we go to our break? Because people have been asking what exactly is going on that is making everybody feel like they're going out of their minds.
Well, when you get a number of shifts like that, it's going to affect every sense that you have, whether you're psychic or not. Well, in my opinion, everybody has the ability to be psychic, but the point is that it affects, how do I say this? It basically affects our cells. Cells in the bloodstream, every cell that you've got in your body, it really makes a significant effect on the human body. And some people will talk about how their sinuses hurt, where they didn't hurt before, and yet they didn't have a voice, and they couldn't figure out why. Well, it's the shift. Just what I call it. I mean, it makes perfect logical sense to me. I may not be able to explain all of it. I know people who definitely can, but basis of it is that when the earth shifts a very specific way, it will have moderate to significant effects. And God help us if the planet really makes a significant shift. We're going to be screwed. Because it's going to affect everyone and every being on this planet, if it happens. Got any other questions revolving around it? Because my mind is like 10 million things going off, firing all at once, and I can't seem to grasp one specific. thought.
Well, we'll discuss that in break, as we do have to our second musical break. We have Michaelan Hay with Mirror and Devil You Know, as well as Fred Johnson III, one of my favorites, with Sugar and After Dark. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
did our love go wrong, my sugar? Take me to a college scene. I'd like to go and dance, have drinks, and hunt the perfect date. Yeah. Living at the dark, I search lonely streets to find hidden shadows in the dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Secret homicides arranged in a series of pursuits. No matter what I say, after dark, I gave her base because she had the range. I knew she was the one that never could go home again. Plastic lights like limo seats. I don't know why I can't control this urge to hurt again. Yeah, living at the dark. Forever after. No matter what I say, after dark. Feeling meant to hurt and feel. In hiding place with days of December. Concerning words. It doesn't matter what I say. It really doesn't. No matter what I say, after dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Secret homicides arranged in a series of pursuits. No matter what I say, change in stuff, murder forever after. It doesn't matter what I say. Rude and fatal, lacking the hint of conscience. No matter what I say, after dark.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we are doing the Paradox Paranormal Forum, and we are joined by Robert White, Kevin McDougal, Nikki Jacobs, and Sleepy Dave Davenport, as well as Mia Savage, who had to leave us early. Welcome back, guys, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Hi.
So we were
No
talking...
worries.
We were talking on break about spirits that keep other spirits from communicating. So, Nikki, can you tell our listeners your question and a bit about what we were discussing?
Sure. Well, I was talking about having an experience last night regarding one specific spirit who was wanting to come through and communicate, and they were surrounded by a rather large group of other spirits who were basically sequestering her and trying to shut her up. And it was extremely frustrating, and I had wanted to know if anybody had heard of any such thing. Now, I knew that there could be instances where that takes place, but I've never come across it where such a large group of other spirits surrounded this person and basically smothered her communication. Was extremely intense, to say the least. It left me very lightheaded. Very, very high energy, and half of it, I can't say half of it was good, half of it was bad. It was a good combination of the two, of good and bad, but wow, incredible, and something I'd never come across before. You'll get the occasional one or two saying, hey, shut up, but never such a large group surrounding an individual. And it's just exactly like what Tessa had talked about a moment ago, when we were off air, when she had said that there are rules on the other side, and boy, there really are. There are a wide variety of rules that one is to follow, and if you don't follow them, you get into very big trouble. And something that had occurred to me was that it's possible that this young lady who was trying to communicate, it may have been a timing issue for her, and that the information that she was trying to put out there, it wasn't time for it yet. And that's a heck of a thought process when you think about it. Anyway, that's what we were talking about. Yes.
And I had also mentioned how I've heard that shadow people can be like diminished spirits as far as their energy's depleted, appearing as dark, or sometimes when they're really, really dark looking, like darker than the dark, they could be so-called watchers that are there to keep the spirits from communicating, because there are those certain laws on the other side. But I've had the experience with my father-in-law trying to communicate and hiding because he said he's not supposed to be communicating at this time, and he was basically breaking the rules. Another time when I had witnessed this was at the Durango and Sylvan Railroad Station, where Kate Johnson had been released from purgatory thanks to a Catholic school class who had the magic hair in the pocket. She came back 3 months later to help Emmy, but during that time, trying to communicate with her, the brakeman, who is there at the railroad station as well, was coming in and interrupting and keeping her from communicating because he didn't want her to get help, perhaps because he's drawing energy from her or from controlling her. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's really... the other side can be a really great thing, but it can also be really convoluted. And that's one of those where it's really convoluted. And it makes you really think, about what the other side is and what it can and can't do, and how significant it really is. How significant it is to our souls, and how important it is as well. But I always find it fascinating that when one deceased person isn't supposed to be talking, how the others come after that person. But I've never experienced it in such a way where so many surrounded this young woman. It had to have been absolutely daunting to her. And you said your father? Grandfather?
My father-in-law.
Father-in-law. See, that kind of stuff, it absolutely amazes me and blows my mind, because to me, I can't imagine not being allowed to speak. And here we have the ability in the United States, in Canada, United States, a number of countries where you do have freedom of speech in this form, in this physical form, but yet on the other side, you've got rules and regulations to keep your mouth shut, basically, because we on this physical plane of existence are not supposed to know. Bullshit, in my terminology. Excuse me? No, I disagree with that. Probably get nailed for that whenever I go to the other side. However,
right? Especially when you hear about, free agency and free will being a gift that was bestowed upon us, not only on this side, but the next. Why then are there these certain rules? But, we have a government and certain policies here. Perhaps it's the same over there and they don't agree with the original rules.
It's a very good possibility.
You never know.
Very good possibility.
Robert, Mooney, Sleepy, did you guys have any thoughts on this?
Yeah.
Well, my only thoughts on the whole thing is that well, go ahead, Robert. You haven't spoken lately.
Well, Sleepy Dave's gone. He had to leave earlier. But yeah, if they have a system of government that's similar to the one here on the other side, then I'm thinking I'm going to go for the next side. Because if they're following the same rules as here, then yeah, it's not going to be worthwhile.
The other side.
The other white meat.
Indeed. Makes you wonder.
The way I always look at it is just plain and simple. One way here is that it doesn't matter if there's one person is being held against their will or held back by a group or a person or anything. I always go to help that person, and the way I do it is by me physically getting into the situation and using myself as a light and blinding the rest of them from that person as a light. By me shining myself, I totally obliterate that person from the rest of them. And they have a choice now if they want to move on to the next world or if they want to say something or do something. It's their choice to do something at that point. But I let them know that they are free to go on if they want to go on to the next world, if they haven't done so yet, or if they need to say something or whatever they need to do. I give them the freedom at that point there to do it, and I give them the protection to do that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you say that. A lot of times spirits don't try something or move forward on something until you give them that opening. You say, you're free to go, or you can do this. You don't have to stay here, so on and so forth. And then they're like, oh, hey, I don't. And then they move on.
It's giving them permission.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just let them know that they're not going to get attacked. Sometimes they try to, and then they get what they think is a helper trying to bring them along is actually someone that's trying to pull them back down, and so they have a bad try the first time, and they don't make it, and then they get scared, and then they're stuck there, and they're just, kept there. And that's why I just offer them the choice, and I let them know, hey, look, I'm here. I've made it safe for you. They can't see you anymore. You can tell, I'm here, and I've already done this. You can tell what's going on. So if you want to go ahead and make a go for it, you got free passage.
So perhaps it's like that energy or intent that we're putting out there that gives them that extra oomph to do what they need to do. Or, I don't know, so many questions.
I know, and that's what I think. You're like, if when you step in there like that, you're giving them some extra boost to their power to get themselves go. You're giving them a little bit of a little bit of a jolt of ego to get themselves going, and you're offering them security and all this other stuff. So if they were afraid to before, you're making it so they don't need to be afraid anymore. And if they were too weak, they felt to go, well, you've made them stronger. So, but you're not making them go anywhere. So, like some of these people say, I push them over and I do this and I do that. Well, you're not going to make anybody go anywhere they don't want to go.
Yeah.
So
exactly,
it's their free choice. You're just clearing a path for them, and you're letting them know if you like to go, now's your time. Okay. And that's all you're doing for them.
Well, with Kate, like, she was stuck in purgatory because of her beliefs, even though she was a soiled dove, a.k.a. prostitute, back in the 1800s. She fell in love and felt like it was her fault that her lover had died due to her being there. And she took her own life. She believed in purgatory, so she was stuck on that boxcar. And after she was released by this class of Catholic school kids from a prayer of release from purgatory, she was gone for 3 months because she needed to be released. You would not believe the energy you felt going up those stairs and then through the door and then through the whole sleeping room and then into the cooking area. Like, there were so many different feelings and emotions moving through there. And then when I came back after the school class had been there that same week and went to see her, you don't feel those things anymore because she was gone. But due to free will and free agency, she came back to help Emmy, the little girl ghost that was stuck there. We can't figure out why because the brakeman wouldn't let us, but perhaps now, if we go back with Kate there, she'll help us to communicate with her and figure out why this little girl ghost is stuck there.
Yeah, and that's I can imagine it was a great feeling, a great energy in there. And but that's a situation that you can offer, could have offered her. Anybody that has figured out the way to get in there and to do this sort of thing, they can step in there with their energy and block the trained man or whatever, and give her the opportunity to go ahead and free herself and pave her way so she can go ahead and go on to heaven or go on to the next world, go on to their judgment or whatever it might be, because that's her step, but as long as she's ready to leave purgatory, as long as she's felt she's suffered enough, we make our own prisons, our own hell, our own heavens. So
yeah, the mind is a powerful thing, and people should remember that. Your thoughts, your mind, do not think lightly of it. Your thoughts can manifest. Different things can happen. Even your beliefs can keep you stuck somewhere. So keep that in mind when you're stuck in a certain rut. I think it's better to be open-minded and have all these different perspectives coming in and to build the spirit up that way instead of being stuck in a certain rut and just listening to what people tell you instead of listening to what you're learning and deciphering between the two.
I see so many people in their own hells, the way they torture themselves over and over and over again, and they won't let themselves out. And it's just the horribleness of it all.
It's heartbreaking to see that and to watch them do it.
And they'll probably go through this for forever. And they'll suffer forever.
Until they learn.
Or until somebody can help them.
Yeah.
True. But the problem is I don't think, because of their faith and everything else, they feel they need to be there forever, that they will be there forever, and
But
they'll
how
keep themselves
long-
there forever.
How long is forever to somebody? Like, she had been there since the 1800s, and we come in after 2000. It was 2012 when we went in. So by that time, was that forever for her? Because she came through on a cell phone app, said Kate Johnson, Walter Intention Death, Sharp Tool, so on and so forth. Walter was Brakeman. Kate Johnson was her name. We looked her up. She was actually a soiled dove, a.k.a. prostitute from Alamosa. She shared all this stuff because she was ready to be released. She had been reliving this hell in this purgatory that she was in. She was done. Like, she was ready to move on and come back better and stronger. She realized her errors or whatever, was released, went for 3 months. Was it spirit prison or some sort of school? Who knows? She came back 3 months later to help Emmy, the little girl ghost. So that's pretty cool, you know. Maybe
That's great.
Yeah.
But she had been waiting for a miracle, and like you said, when they read the poem and they read the scripture, and that's what was able to release her. She was waiting for that. She was waiting for that kind of a revelation through the scriptures and that process to happen so she could be released. Others don't feel that there's a process to overcome, and that they'll never.
Yeah, and there's Catholics, you know, old school ones that are like, there is no prayer like that. But these are little kids from a Catholic school. They're learning new things. Like the Catholic Church is actually releasing prayers for exorcisms and such in all languages. So imagine what they're teaching in the Catholic schools now. Now there's a prayer of release from purgatory because they know it exists, and that's where a lot of these different things come from, you know. But yeah, it's pretty cool that she did come back and she's trying to help Emmy. But it's amazing how strong the mind is and how it can imprison you in these certain places like purgatory, or like we were saying before, your own hell.
That's it.
Have you ever seen that movie, What Dreams May Come, with Robin Williams?
Sounds really familiar.
It's about, I think his wife was really sick and she committed suicide, and then he was kind of in this dream realm in her hell and trying to help her get out of it. And it was like, right now, like my skin is crawling from my ankles up to my thighs, but it's just like she created her own hell, and he was like going there to visit her and trying to pull her out of it. Like, you can come out. If you haven't seen that movie, What Dreams May Come, with Robin Williams, who is the most epic comedian in the history of man, definitely check it out.
I'll have to check it out.
I love Robin. He comes to periodically, and oh my God. Out of the blue, I get some weird ass comment. It's like he's testing out. Well, actually, he told me, yeah, I get to test out I still get to be a comedian. And I'm like, oh God, and I got chosen.
I will trade places
Remember,
with you.
eat yourself.
Seriously.
Nanu, Nikki.
Yeah, well, that's not what I get told. But anyway.
It's a bit darker. I know some of those skits.
He's a very sweet man.
I just think he was really sick and couldn't handle it anymore. He'd already had so much shit on his plate, basically. And then he has this thrown at him as far as his health goes. But I still don't think he did it. I don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was somebody else. But that's
I'm
just
not gonna comment on that. But
well, you're in regular communication with him, so come on, listen.
Yeah, no. There's certain things that I'm not gonna reveal. And
it's hard for me to accept that he hung himself. Like, he was my hero, so how could that happen? I don't know.
I got specifically told, yeah, boy. I got specifically told that he couldn't handle losing his mind, is how it was said to me, quote unquote, losing my mind. I couldn't do it. And
well, for me, I think about his wife and his kids and the life that he wants for them, and he wants to provide this certain life, but he can't, and so he just ends up going in there and doing it. But at the same time, like, my other self that's, like, not wanting the harshness to be reality, I'm just like, no, that couldn't happen, but at the same time, I could see how it could. Most comedians are very, very disturbed and have had really hard lives in the first place.
He's pretty dang proud of his daughter, I know that. That became very abundant to me. So...
Well, I just can't believe he killed himself before we could be married. You know, it's ridiculous.
Oh, my God.
Had he only
Tessa.
known.
Oh, my God. That's awesome. And I'm not hearing anything. I usually... you get going on stuff like that, I usually hear a comment or something. There's not a comment. I'm like, what? That was really good.
He'll probably be back soon, and yeah, you'll cop it then.
Hopefully on the after party we'll hear something from him pertinent to that. But I did share a thing.
Sorry,
between him and who?
Well, between him, Marilyn, and periodically I hear from John, but when certain things arise, and I'm not thinking of them, they come straight to me. I've had a couple of other real famous ones that have come straight to me, and I'm like, why me? And, well, you're easy to talk to. That's nice, but why? So, it gets kind of interesting when you start having, it almost makes you feel like you're nuts. I mean,
neck and futz.
Feel like I'm nuts. Yeah, I feel like I'm nuts sometimes anyway, because I'm a medium and I can talk to spirits, and oh my God, that's taboo in some societies and in some worlds. So, but yeah, you get different ones coming to you periodically, and it makes your life really rather interesting, especially when they say
who wears an extra large.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, yeah, it makes life interesting. That's for sure. So
you're lucky. I don't get very many visitors except for the yahoos that like to come through here. But my next thought, one of the questions that I had for this evening was, okay, the plague. We've had it in the 1820s, the 1920s, and now the 2020s with the coronavirus, which actually reared its ugly head last year with a few people deplenished by it. But this year, they're already up to, I believe it's like 25 or 26. The flu here is up to, last I saw was 2,900, not 1,000, but 100. So there are different plagues going on, different things happening. Do you think the coronavirus is the plague of the 2020s?
Personal opinion, no psychic info on it. Yeah, it could be. Very potentially could be in my personal opinion. It made me wonder when I started seeing a number of friends posting the fact that it wasn't the CDC, it was the WHO? World Health Organization. I can't remember exactly who it was, but there was supposedly some sort of vaccine for it, and a number of people. Now, okay, I'm talking about this and I have not researched this, so I apologize ahead of time. Typically, I'm well versed on something that I've researched, this has just popped up in the last couple of days, and I've had an awful lot on my plate psychic-wise. So I haven't done the research, so I do apologize for that. But it amazes me that there are a number of links and information out there where supposedly some organization, whether it's the CDC, whether it's HWO, has some sort of previous vaccine for this. That leads to a whole hell of a lot of questions in my book. If that really is the case, like I said, I hadn't done the research on it. But it really makes you question an awful lot, because there was an awful lot of testing regarding the Black Plague. There was an awful lot of supposed testing for a number of diseases that killed hundreds of thousands in population, and it makes you question a lot. Like,
Yeah, this just started a little less than a month ago. And
what the hell?
Jason is asking, do you guys think the coronavirus is man-made?
Funny enough, I do.
Mm-hmm. I concur.
Yeah, I think it's something. I got to be careful with what I say.
And Caden's
because
saying
this
they
is
just recently introduced bat soup, which I saw a picture of that earlier, and it was pretty messed up. It looked like a bat, like just sitting in a hot tub, but they actually boil the bat and make a soup out of it, and people are eating it, just like shark soup or shark salad or whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's bat soup. Do you think this could have something to do with it, and that's the way they're introducing it? But it's spreading pretty quickly.
Yeah, they originally said, now what I did read a number of days ago, they did talk about how it was spreading from person-to-person contact. It wasn't airborne yet. Well, things can shift and change pretty damn quickly regarding viruses. So, I would assume, hell of an assumption, but I would assume that within 6 months it'll be more than just airborne. I assume it'll be like the flu. What are they going to do then? A lot of these things that come out, these viruses and things that come out, it's a hell of a way to say this, but I'm just going to come out and say it. It's one way to cull the human population. And a lot of countries have done it. A lot of big money, I keep thinking of the Bilderbergers, which of course I don't think I said that. Rothschilds, yeah, that kind of stuff. There's an awful lot of influence regarding that kind of stuff, which is really sad. It's really sick. You talk about the psychology of that crap. A lot of people, they poo-poo it, but you know what? There are major money backers behind Big Pharma. There's major money backers behind I just lost the cigarettes. I can't think of what that's called. Nicotine. Big money backers behind that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah,
there's another example of pharmaceutical stuff. So it's just extremely messed up. Let's just put it that way. Probably one of the reasons, well, there's a number of reasons why. After I started doing research on what actually happened I believe it was in the UK, in the late 1700s, early 1800s, and then in the later on in the United States, regarding how pharmaceutical came into play and how the CDC came into play and how a number of things became business, and the AMA. Yeah, AMA.
So we're in our last 20 minutes. Does anybody
Yes,
else
sir.
have anything on this, on the coronavirus? Is this the new plague of the 2020?
Robert Mooney. Hello.
Cholo?
Well, I personally don't think it's the one that's going to be the plague of 2020. This is just a precursor in my books to something else that's coming along.
Oh,
I don't know what it is, but yeah, this is just the throw a pebble into the lake sort of thing, and watch how many ripples it'll cause.
I agree and disagree with that. Oh, sorry, Mooney, go on.
Well, considering we've had this virus since last year, and we're only up to like 26 deaths worldwide, supposedly. So, it takes 2 weeks for you to even develop a symptom, and that's whenever you can start to figure out if you might have it. Then you can go to the authorities, and then they can start the process of finding out if you have it. The airports won't even screen for it until you get you aren't even looking for anything except for your temperature, and you won't get that until after 2 weeks.
Yep.
So you could be all over the world a couple times, 2 weeks.
Yeah, they're talking about how these people were disposed to like 12 people at first, and then it moved up to 40-something or 50-something people. Like, how do you actually keep track of who you talk to during this whole time?
Exactly.
How do you know where to correlate it to as far as the beginning? And like I said before, not only the coronavirus, but the flu virus this year has knocked off 2,600 people. Like, and the coronavirus is moving pretty quickly too. And they're taking people out of that country back into our country, probably into camps where they keep them away from other people. Who knows what's going on with that, but it's pretty scary.
No, the hospitals are keeping them quarantined.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I've been reading.
Whistling away again in Quarantinaville.
Yep, pretty much. I don't know. I agree and disagree with what Robert said. I agree that it's the beginning, but the way I look at it is it's the 2021. But I think the really big one, I think that's coming next few years, 4 years out. I heard 3 in my head, and then I heard 4. So, give or take 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, and Jason is saying, thinking Ebola is going to be worse. It seems it's airborne now. Yay. Let's all celebrate.
Oh, it's that lovely.
Right? Woohoo!
Awesome.
Going to a whole nother level.
Yep. That's rather sad, though.
It's scary.
Yeah, actually, it really is. It's one of I try not to do too much pharmaceuticals, just because I find that doing as much of the naturals as possible really does seem to support the immune system a hell of a lot better than what they can provide now. If there is antibiotics needed, I'll use antibiotics, but in conjunction with the natural, provided the natural doesn't interfere with, like there's no, like it's not counterintuitive, because you've got to be careful with some of that stuff. But it's I think we need to go back to a time where a lot of us are using as much naturals as we can, and if you have to, use antibiotics when needed.
Mm-hmm.
Then your body is not going to be one of those bodies that, hello, antibiotics don't work anymore.
Yeah, it's my neighbor, Sister Lisa. I'm like, holy shnikes, everything you get, antibiotics. I'm like, when is that not going to work anymore? Well, it's not working anymore.
7 years old, I knew a little girl years ago. By the time she was 7, very specific high antibiotics were no longer working for her. And I went, yeah, that's not okay. Not okay. And people got to think. They got to think about what they're putting in their bodies and how it's affecting them. Because you want antibiotics only when you have to have them. You know, antibiotics saved my mom's life from sepsis. I'm all for using antibiotics, but I'm also all for a healthy medium. You know what I'm saying? You got to find a good medium so that you're not contaminating your body with all these pharmaceuticals and nothing, you find out later, nothing works because you've overdone it on the pharmaceuticals. It's ridiculous. So it's kind of the same way with energy. You know, when we use our energy, you don't want to overuse it, overabuse it. You want to maintain as much healthy stuff as you possibly can, because you never know when you're going to have to learn something new. And life is all about learning. Ha ha. Positive note.
Anyone else? Any takers?
Mm-hmm. No, really. I'm scared.
Doesn't sound like it.
Well, Alyssa says...
Fry.
Alyssa Mask in the chat room says, we'll need education on cropping, harvesting, building, and maintaining in order to survive what is going to come. So that's why I love the old school, new school, present school, whatever is going on. To survive, like, you have to know certain things in order to move on in this world. You can't just go to the store and buy your food. You got to know how to grow it and know that it's going to take time to do that, and somehow to preserve your crops. Like, I don't know. The Mormons kind of have it right with their dry storing of foods and goods, so on and so forth. And it's been going on for at least, so far as I know, since the 80s. That's when I first got into it. But it's cool. And they even have tablets for the water you store. Once the water, you could put these tablets in there, or water you get from somewhere else. Put these tablets, iodine tablets, I believe it is, or iodide, and put it in there, and then it'll cleanse your water so you can drink it. Or you could just freaking boil the stuff, you know. But dry storage is pretty important if you want to live in the last days instead of taking your guns and visiting your neighbors. Have some dry storage in there and persevere on your own, and do have a healthy crop of guns and armor and bullets in order to protect that. But it's pretty scary when you think about it, and a lot of people, I know Sleepy Dave had a show just recently talking about how things have already happened and how we're already in these times. A lot of people do believe we're basically in hell on earth already and just waiting for the shoe to drop, or the hammer, or whatever you want to call it. But it's important to be prepared for the end times.
Yep. You got to have a knowledge base. And if you don't have that knowledge base, by God, start learning. How much time do we have, Tessa?
We have T-minus, let's say 8 minutes.
Okay.
And counting.
Okay. One of the premonitions, I don't know if I've actually talked about this. Ooh, this is a big one. One of the premonitions that I've had for over 20 years. There's been a few premonitions that have been over 20 years. This is the first one that I had. and people are going to say I'm nuts. I don't give one rat's ass what you think of it. But when I start having numerous visions of it over a course of, over the course of 25 years, and it periodically changes. And it's interesting because bits and pieces of it are happening now. One of the things that I have seen is Yosemite going up. And it's triggered by 4 mountains. 4
That would
very
kill
specific
me
things.
and you and Sir
Yep.
Robin and so many other people we know. I think Mooney would still be hanging in there.
Yeah, basically,
and carrying the torch or the flag or whatever into the underground. But yeah, that's
basically,
been on the precipice for a while.
yeah, basically Canada survives. There are some lower states that survive. Some of the eastern states survive. And it's something that nobody sees coming. It took me a long time to... Jesus, Mooney. He just sent something. Oh, God.
Jesus Cristo!
Yeah, no kidding. It took a long time for me, a number of years, in fact, to figure out that what I was actually seeing was Yosemite. I started asking questions of the other side. Is this really what you mean? And I was told yes. And I'm like, I'm not imagining this, am I? And they're like, nope, this will happen. And I asked, in my lifetime? Yes, in your lifetime. Will I be in my 80s? No. And I went, okay, I don't want to know anymore. Because it means that I will be younger than that. I'm already 51. I'll be 52 next month. I don't care to think about what happens to this planet on that kind of a basis, because that's not okay. It's going to be apocalyptic.
Yeah, for me,
and-
I tend to go back to church when I really, really need help, when I feel like I can't help myself anymore. And when I bore birth to my first daughter, so on and so forth, and actually got my patriarchal blessing, it said that I would be a leader among women, so on and so forth. And so I think that I will be there during the end times. I'll be there to help and uplift people or women and to educate them and to help them to prosper during this time and to adapt and overcome. Like, there's so many things that you can do to survive.
Yeah.
And
there are.
So for me, like, I've had crazy, crazy nightmares, but then I wake up and CNN News is on and there's a war going on overseas. So I'm like, okay, that was probably just that coming into my dream. You know, why all these crazy wars were happening. So it's hard to decipher, was that a vision or was that just the news creeping in my dreams?
And these were specifically while I was wide awake. Reaching one of them, I specifically remember when it hit me, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th time that it had happened, and I would remember reaching for a jacket on a row of jackets, and that was near a door. I was about to put my hand on a metal doorknob, and I actually had my left hand on a jacket, and this vision hit me. I'm thinking, I got to put a coat on my kid. I got to get to the door, and we got to go. And here's this vision, and it nearly makes me go to the ground. And I'm like, wow. And then I started having them pretty regularly after that. Yeah, you know, there are things, and I do know that I will live through it. I know that I won't be in Washington State. I don't know why, but I know that I won't be in Washington State at the time. Yeah, I don't even know if I'll be in the States, but I know I won't be in Washington.
I'm just
But
hoping that when the Rocky Mountains explode from this explosion, it won't hit our house and we'll be able to caravan and dig into the side of the mountain on this side and survive and become, the hills have eyes or something. But, I'm hoping to survive and help others survive. I hope it's happy and peaceful, but at the same time, I don't really see that happening. But I need somebody who knows how to make bullets and who knows how to do other things. I don't want to learn that because I don't want to blow my appendages off. But if somebody knows how to do that and wants to join my clan, hit me up on Facebook under Tessa.in Thomas Peterson.
I know how to make all that stuff.
All right, Mooney, you're in my camp. All right.
Lots of airflow. You don't want that stuff. You want to be inhaling that stuff, man. Jeez.
No, I don't worry about inhaling it. You can go kind of crazy on it, but I'm kind of crazy anyways. But if you can not blow your appendages off or blow yourself off the face of the planet, then you can be part of my camp.
Mm-hmm.
I have shells saved. We can do this. All right, so we have T-minus 3 minutes and 35 seconds and counting. So, Nikki, how can our listeners get in contact with you and learn more about you?
Grab pen and paper.
You got your pen and paper? Come on, peoples.
Yep. You can contact me via my email address, theeclecticangel@yahoo.com. You can contact me on Facebook. I think it's Nikki.Jacobs376 is what I think it is. I didn't doing this off the top of my head. And eventually, like in the next 3 months, I will be having, keep your eyes peeled, having a Facebook account where it will be public. And it'll be business. So, for those that are seeking help with trying to find a lost loved one, or trying to get in contact with a lost loved one.
And Robert said, or if you want to hear her cat, Producer Maxmare.
He's very beautiful.
So, Robert, could you tell us a bit about yourself and how people can contact you?
You can contact me on battleliner@gmail.com. That's BATTLELINER @gmail. Or look up the blue-winged kookaburra on Facebook, because that's where I am.
All right, Sleepy Dave Davenport. I think he's back. Can you tell our listeners how and when to find you? Oh, are you not done, Robert? Sorry.
No, I'm done. Sleepy, are you there?
Kevin McDougal.
Yes.
How can our listeners find you?
Well, the easiest way is to go ahead and just throw your toaster into the bathtub.
Well,
just go ahead.
Yes, I'm here, but the music was too loud.
Hit me up on Facebook or on Twitter at Moonlit, MOONLICHT at yahoo.com is my email. Moonlit on on
kill us, spit it out.
on Facebook. It's 2 words, MOON, and then the second word is LICHT. Contact me on there. I got my contact information. I'm here in northeastern Ohio, Warren, Ohio. If you need to get a hold of me.
Sleepy Dave, who does our weekday shows. Make sure you check him out. Sleepy Dave, how do they contact you? 2 seconds.